Hi, this is Lily. I'm back. I came back from my 1 month overseas trip to Italy, including Sicily and Scotland. It's my childhood dream to travel the world, and I'm living American dream, and I would love to continue to travel, but we got work to do in this country. So I'm back. I'm fully engaged and jump into work and activities here. I have a very special guest, and I hope you enjoyed Amani's interview last week with somebody from Spain. I had no idea that Spain and socialism is getting really bad. It seems like this specter of socialism and communism will never die because people just don't have maybe really terrible things happen to them yet. So we lived it. So I hope that more immigrants will join us and come to share their stories. I have a special guest today, my friend, and Leping Beck. So she is also from China. Well, thank you for coming today, Leping. Good to see you.
Hi, good to see you too, Lily. Hi, thank you for inviting me.
Of course, I always appreciate other immigrant stories and voices. I feel I'm just like talking to myself if I don't have lots of other people joining me, and we'll make our voice stronger. We will make a bigger impact by having other immigrants' voices, right?
Yes, you're our hero, Lily.
Oh, thank you. No, I don't think I'm a hero. I'm just accidental citizen activist. I feel threatened, so I have to get involved, right? Do something. If you don't like something, you do something. So let's our audience to hear you a little bit self-introduction about your past and your stories from China.
Yeah, I like a lot of immigrants. I came from China and pursuing American dream. I came here after right after college, actually in '88.
Wow, we came the same year, 88.
Yeah, I think you and I are kind of similar, right? So I heard.
That's 35 years ago.
No, God, I feel so old. But uh, so I spent more years, okay, in America than in China. So I heard about your story, not completely, but I think I heard pieces here and there, and I understand that you came here as a fairly young and as a student, but you finished college from China, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I did too. I actually we're probably similar in age. So I graduated from Beijing University in 1988. And then I came here at that time. Like a lot of people ask, how did you come? But actually, a lot at that time, that's the first time actually China opened its door to the West.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, nobody could even get a passport. Like,
right.
America is like going to a foreign country. What's that? We couldn't. I mean, we couldn't travel. We didn't travel much at all, right? In my entire childhood, I didn't even. It's hard. I mean, we travel by the train.
You grew up in Beijing?
I did. I grew up in Beijing.
Oh,
Yeah.
your Mandarin Chinese probably is more better standard than me. I'm from
Well,
Sichuan, so I have a Sichuan accent.
really accent. Yeah, but my parents were not from Beijing, but I was. I was born, grew up in Beijing. And I went to college. It was right after the Cultural Revolution, and there was no college, and all of a sudden it opened up, and then they had this, the entire education system changed, and so I got to go, and just like you had to do the college entrance exam, whatever, and I guess I was always a fairly good student. So I got into Beijing University, which is like the top college university at that time, and I went to study English. Actually, that was my major.
Oh, Beijing 大学, Beijing University.
Beijing University. Yeah, I mean,
English major. Wow.
Right. So
you speak a lot better English than me.
I was always interested in literature, and I was actually fairly gifted in language, and I was actually going to study Chinese literature because I was very interested in that. But I had a teacher. My Chinese teacher persuaded me, saying that you can study Chinese on your own. You're already pretty good at that. You should study English, and this is where you should go. I was like, okay, great idea. So so I still feel like indebted to her. She's such a wonderful teacher, one of the best in the country. I got pretty lucky and I got probably a top-notch education at that time, under the
I'm
circumstances.
curious, when you study English literature in Beijing, so you get to know all the famous foreign literature, Western writers, and who were the major ones from the West, from the United States you studied?
Yes, I mean, that kind of opened the door to an entire world, so I still feel like very lucky and feel grateful to my teacher to suggest that. And wow, that just totally opened your eyes. I mean, I was already very interested in Western ideas and literature. I was reading, I mean, translated version of Western literature when I was in high school, and got very interested, intrigued by this entire different world.
Mhm.
And of course, once I it's a professional education, have systematic education, of the literature. I mean, we were required to read all the classics. It's not just American literature, of course, European, from Odyssey to the Renaissance and to the modern, works, by all the major giants. So, I mean, I felt like I had a very good education. And then of course, after that, and you start realizing the conflict of this two culture and two ideas and two world, and I'm actually more and more attracted to this Western world. Of course, I never really traveled outside of China at that time, and it was, but around me at that time, especially Beijing University, those are top colleges. A lot of people started going out. I mean, I meet them every day, basically, So I got just more and more interested, and then right after college, I got my opportunity, so I came here. And that time is fairly easy, for if you graduate from Peking University, or Tsinghua, or where you graduate from, like Fudan University, it's fairly easy actually to get a.
Wasn't easy for me because I was working for law department as a faculty member. I
Uh,
had to get a permission to quit my job to go to the
uh,
passport. So it
uh,
wasn't easy for me. I went through like a long process and to get my boss basically to
okay,
permit
yeah,
me
I
to.
didn't worked in China, so it
Well,
was
you
like
graduate from college directly. You apply
I
for graduate school in the U.S.
didn't really have a whole lot of that work experience in China. I didn't belong to anybody. I didn't really have any attachment.
So
Um,
I'm kind of interested in what American literature from the U.S. that you studied in college about
yeah,
American
yeah,
literature.
this I didn't quite understand. Actually, not as good, no good understanding as I have now, because it's a different world I've never been to.
There's
So
some names like I wonder, maybe I never heard of them.
my final year, my thesis was about William Faulkner. I loved his work. I don't think I really understood him at that time. Just a stupid 21-year-old. But I was totally intrigued. And for example, I studied. I mean, of course, Hemingway. We read Hemingway.
Hmm.
Read, like Tennessee Williams. I like Arthur Miller at that time. Arthur Miller actually even went to China and helped the Chinese theater to put that show in
Wow.
China, in Beijing. I even went there to watch that. It's so funny. So years later, just 30 years later, probably, right, like a few years ago, they had Death of a Salesman in our town. Like now I live in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Hmm.
They have that show in our little theater by a local group, and I went there to watch that, you know. And I was like, wow, how funny. It's like it's the same show, but in different languages. Um, and I actually appreciate it even a little bit more now than before.
Hmm. Yeah.
That, yeah. So
So so that means did you also grow up like me during the Mao's Cultural Revolution? How did that affect your family in Beijing?
well, okay, yeah. Of course, it affected everybody.
Hmm.
My parents, I think we're kind of fairly typical middle class. Because my dad actually had a great education. My dad was very well educated, and
Intellectual. So it was like
yeah,
intellectual then.
he was an engineer. Okay, so
Oh,
he graduated from Tsinghua University. See, that's
oh.
the top STEM university, right?
Hmm.
So he graduated from that, but because my mom didn't go to college. Because her parents were kind of from the rich class. So in China, the class war, if you are if you
Five
are,
red and five black, right?
yeah, if I read. So we were the black. My mom was black
Oh no,
because
that.
because depends on your wealth, right? So I guess my
Mm-hmm.
grandpa had some money, and he worked as an interpreter for the Japanese during the during the Second World War. And after,
Oh, yeah, it's black
right,
class for
right.
sure. Like
So
might call him traitor or something, right? Even.
yeah, kind of, right. So after the communists took over, so he kind of went insane. The family had pretty much lost everything, but the stigma was still there. They were supposed to be you cannot, you're not qualified to do a lot of things, such as joining the Communist Party, get job promotion, blah blah blah. You're out basically. So my mom was in that kind of class, but my mom and dad, they actually they grew up together. They were born like one or a couple of weeks apart. The two family knew each other from the day that they were born. So they were neighbors. So
Mm.
then my dad actually later, who knows? I mean, he met my mom when they were adults, and then they started dating. And then, so my dad's family was not because my dad's parents were illiterate. Although my grandpa from my dad's side, was started doing business. He was not entirely poor. However, after the communists, they lost everything, so they were still okay. They were the proletarian, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was a bourgeois, so imagine a proletarian date a bourgeois, like, so what's happening was my dad he graduated from the top university, and he was told that if you want to marry this woman, you're not going to have your future, because you're not going to join the party. You're not going to be promoted, you're not going to, everything at that time is
It's
based.
about politics, yes.
It's about politics, right? Even where you live, your housing, your foods, everything is dependent on that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, so my dad kind of weighed on that, and he said, "Well, I guess I'm still marrying this woman. I'm not going to join the party." So that's what happened to him. So he did got assigned a job, working for the Science Institute. It's a kind of total bureaucracy, um, and he never got really, was able to use his knowledge to do anything basically as an engineer. He was not allowed to, I guess, he didn't have access to that path because he married my mom. I guess that's his
But he
story.
chose love over politics. That's good for you,
Yes,
Dan. So you were born, you were empowered of love.
and I guess you got punished for that, right? So their frustration was always, he didn't. And my mom, it's like, oh yeah, you didn't, somebody else got this, that time that if you want your house, you got to be in the waiting line. You got to wait for your, if you got
Benefits,
covered by
yeah.
the party, yeah, you get a benefit. If you don't, then you don't get it. And everybody waiting in line. I remember my mom, like, she wanted it to have a bigger apartment. It didn't happen for her, and she wanted a sewing machine, for example, a bicycle. Okay, and any that you got to wait for your turn, and she didn't get it.
Everything's rationed. It depends on your positions. Who
Yeah,
gets
so
first,
yeah,
right?
we grew up this similarly, and that's all over the country. That's how pretty much everybody grew up at that
So are
time.
you the only child then, or they have more
Uh,
children?
I have a brother, so we didn't have I think it's after us. They had the one child policy,
Okay.
but yeah, but I still had a sibling, which is kind of lucky.
And so your parents and your brother did they join you come to United States?
Yes, yes. My parents, they came here. So yeah, they've been here for a long time. And my brother, too. He
Oh,
actually, my brother actually didn't come to the U.S. early. What happened was he became a pastor. So he stayed in actually in Saipan, and then because he married a Korean woman.
oh,
Okay, that's a different story, but it's because the passport situation that Korean wouldn't accept him to allow him to live there, so they had to live in Saipan, and then his work is mainly in China.
hmm.
No, China is actually the biggest growing Christian
Yeah,
area.
I heard the Christian numbers are bigger than Communist Party members.
Yeah, so
That's a
so
good thing.
I guess it's good, So that's what he was doing.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Parents, yeah, they came here. They've been here for a long time, for over 20 years.
So tell us a little bit about what you did after you come to the United States in 1988. What degrees and what
I
background, what you're doing
I
today.
I worked here and there for a while, and then I went to law school because
Mm-hmm.
I figured I couldn't really do anything with my English degree. So I figured I probably need American education. And at that time, somebody told me about law school. I kind of just want a fast path, And it's funny. At that time I still had the idea, oh, maybe I want to have all my education, because I made a bet with a friend of mine in college, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get a doctorate degree. He said he was going to get a doctorate degree. I said, okay, I'm going to get a doctorate degree too. That idea stuck in my head, and I figured maybe I should just get one. And then so I asked around. It's like, in order to get a doctorate degree, you have to get a master's degree, and then the law school, you only, like, 3 years, you can get a JD, like a Juris
Right.
doctorate degree. So, okay, that's a pretty good deal.
I wanted to go to law school because I studied law in Fudan,
Oh, you
but
did?
my English wasn't good enough, and I did not have money. So how your English had no problem, but how did you even pay for law school?
It's actually not a very I don't know whether if I choose again I would do it, because I was just stupid basically. I was 22 or I was in my 20s anyway. So I was like, what am I going to do when I grow up, kind of thing. So I went to law school, and somebody told me that. I just went there to take a look, and then the recruiter said, my first thing said, okay, I don't want to be a lawyer, okay, but I just want to get a degree. And then so she said, well, okay, with a law degree you can do anything. So I said, okay, well, can I work for like the Peace Corps or something, And she basically said, well, you can do anything with a law degree. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, since I'm not that committed, I just want something like open-ended, maybe I should go to law school. And then then she said, well, you have to take an LSAT, to enter. And I was like, what's that? And she said, here, go to, that time it's a bookstore, I forgot the name. Mm-hmm. And she said, here's some books. You can take a look and see whether you just take a test. And then they only have tests like twice a year or something. The next one, I was like, oh, she look at the calendar, said, well, next month there's a test. If you don't do this one, then, you'll miss it. Then you have to consider next year. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, maybe I should take a look. So I went to a bookstore. I got like a sample test. I took a look. I was like, okay, maybe I can do it. It's just a stupid test, and you just pay some money. You do a test, and then you can decide later. So I went there. I took a look at the book, and I said, okay, I'll buy the book, and I'll just study that sample test. And I registered for the test because it's only 1 month. I didn't want to miss a deadline, basically. So I did that. I took the test, and then I totally forgot about it. And then I think months later, they gave me a letter of acceptance. I was like, at that moment, I had to really seriously consider whether I should go or not.
Well, how are you going to pay for it, right?
Yeah, but then they told me I could get a loan. So
student loan.
Yeah, you could get student loan. So I figured then maybe I'll do it if I could do it. I mean, just one thing lead to another. I just kind of went to law school blindly.
So you did not have like a specialty? What kind of area of practice?
No, as
just general study.
No, I was never actually interested in being a lawyer. I mean, that's what I told the recruiter. I even said I didn't want to be a lawyer. I just wanted.
Did you become a lawyer after you graduated with JD?
I did, and after 3 years, I got my degree, and then you realize, well, the only job opportunity is to become a lawyer.
So you had to take a bar exam and
and you had to take the bar exam, and everybody was taking the bar exam. I was like, okay, if I don't take it now, I'm not, I probably would lose my momentum. Then I don't want to study anymore. So maybe I should just do it now, just tough it out, do it. So I took the bar, then I passed, and then so I passed the first try, and I was like, okay, then what, and I couldn't. So then
did you go to work for corporation, government, or you work for yourself?
I worked for a small law firm for a while, and then moved around a little bit too. And then I started really getting into being a lawyer, because when you do the job, it's not I don't know, it's like maybe like most young people, you really, it's like you have to find a job. It's not your dream job, but you have to do it because you need the money, whatever, you
need to build the experience,
Right. Then I got the experience, and then I was thinking, well, when I do something, you have to do it well, right? I mean, you have to be responsible. You have to do it. So I started getting into it, and then I felt like it was not too bad. Actually, I'm not bad at that,
You have very good, strong English background.
So I started doing that. I mean, I was doing, and when you work for a law firm, you got to do the grunt work. You do.
You have to work really hard. I heard, right? Stressful.
The case, like other lawyers don't want to take, all the stupid cases like divorce, little criminal cases, that your client is kind of, your client did it anyway. Can you just go there to do a plea bargain? So
Did you ever become a self-employed, work for yourself?
yes, I did. After a while, after I actually, because I got married, and then after I had my kid, actually, I actually always worked part time because I worked for, in the beginning before I had a kid, I worked full time, but after I had a kid, it's hard to work for somebody else, and that kind of was very demanding, So I had to work for myself. So I did part time actually for a long time, just because I had to take care of my kids because my husband worked. So
Yeah, that's like so you did that for a while. Which year did you move out of Colorado to go to North Carolina?
we did that in 2013
Okay.
because that's the time because we got two daughters. My older one was going to ninth grade at that time. We figured that's kind of the milestone. If you don't move then, it will be hard.
Oh yeah, they don't want to leave their like a teenager
Yeah.
friends behind.
Yeah. Because we were in Colorado for that long. The kids, we're just typical two couple, middle class. We had our house, we got a mortgage, got to work, and kind of my friends call me soccer mom, to drive my kids around, and then we were not political at all. I don't think, because to be honest, my husband never voted.
Well, you and I both were not political, and we both live in Colorado, but we did not even know each other because
I know.
we're just mind our own family business,
It was super busy, and life, I guess life happens, right? And your kids they're pretty happy. They're growing. We're still living this American dream, and we're busy. And then, but I started noticing, like my older one, started coming home and started saying American. No, that's her word when she was in middle school, right? That's the kids started having some awareness and started getting some political ideas. And she started coming home. She started saying that America is the worst country in the world. I was like,
2013.
yeah, she was like 13, right? I was like, okay, Sarah, how about you live in China for a month and then tell me which country is better? As a typical immigrant parent, right?
Right. It's like you don't know better. You gotta listen to your mama.
Yeah. And then she got all kinds of, crazy ideas. Every time my answer is, okay, how about you just go to Africa to live in 2 months? That'll be my answer.
Did you ever take your daughters to actually go to China, visit, and
I actually did. That was because it was hard to, I have two kids. They're like a 4.5 year apart. We travel within the United States. Traveling was hard, I mean, with young kids, even in the United States. So we didn't drag them out of the country until, and then my husband didn't want to go overseas. He doesn't like to fly. So not until 2014, when my younger one was, I think she was 10, maybe 10. So I figured maybe it's okay, so I took both of them to China. We traveled for about a month. In China, I took them to visit my relatives. So most part, we stay in a more of a tourist places. Okay. So they're clean water, shower, you know what I mean, right? And safe for most part. But they got a glimpse of, the real China. I mean, not real. Okay, I didn't take
regular people's life in like a regular Chinese life.
But then they got a glimpse of that. Okay, I mean, they would see how dirty the local restaurants, or they could see how the servants were treated. That's really bothered my kid, like how indifferent and arrogant the rich people were to the servants. To people. It's different attitude that really bothered her. And of course, the infrastructure is, it's not as clean as America. So,
but I bet they went through some kind of culture shock a little bit, huh?
They the big time. So let me tell you, okay, after they came back from that trip, my kids never said a bad thing about America.
They have comparison on, right? So
yes.
first, like see something with your own eyes, just make a big impact.
So, and then it's funny, they're not really get fascinated by other countries anymore, because I remember she was like, I'm moving to Australia. There was a book even, everything goes bad, I'm moving to Australia. She was seriously like, I'm moving to Australia because America is the worst country in the world. The president is worse than Nazi, than Hitler, whatever, that's but then we realized that's what they were taught. They were taught that in school. We didn't teach them that.
Did they go to public schools?
Public school, yes.
Mm-hmm.
As an immigrant parent, how appreciative we are to what we're experiencing in America.
Well, we think that it's an exceptional country, best country we can come to.
I feel like a lot of times, I feel like as immigrants, we love America more than the natural
And
born.
people born here, yes.
Yeah.
They had no comparison.
They didn't compare. They never lived in another country.
Mm-hmm.
How we grew up. I mean, we didn't have, air conditioning, refrigerator, or
We did not even have enough food to eat. I just remember I was hungry all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Beijing. That's like
capital of China.
Yeah, but I would say I was starving. However, we didn't have enough food. I mean, the first time I came to America, I looked at the pet store. I was like, wow, have more stuff.
Pet store, yeah. No, we were told not to have pets. I think our courtyard community dog owned by neighbor was told by police to kill it because it's illegal to have a pet.
I mean, I even remember growing up in Beijing, I was longing to see trees, to just have some clean air because it was so dirty and so polluted.
Oh, in the spring, especially the sandstorm, right? I remember that.
It was horrible. And
you have to wear a mask and wear like a headscarf. And
yeah, the air was so dirty, and it's so ugly everywhere you go. It's all gray.
Mm-hmm. Just the living conditions and environments like that. Yeah. And not even talk about dare to say anything like not politically correct. You can get into trouble.
I know, right? Hey, but that's, hey, I can't lie. That was our life and we all experienced it. What are they talking? Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you kids are I'm sure now they're more mature and,
They are. Yeah. I'm very proud of them. They're doing very well. They're great girls, but I was kind of, from my kids were in middle school, maybe in grade school, started noticing. It's like, what are they teaching the kids in school? It's like, wow, isn't that like the brainwash we had when we were little? It's very similar.
Did that major reason make you feel like you want to maybe move to North Carolina, out of Colorado?
It's actually one of the major reasons, because Colorado became just more and more like too much political correctness. Like even the school, they had this stupid policy that is like there's no freedom of speech anymore. It's like people are so uptight and you can't say anything.
You feel that way when you were parents? You got to be careful about what you talk about to teachers and with your kids and.
I felt that way. Yes, I started feeling the like, for example, the everything you do could be racist or anti-feminist or whatever they label you.
But that's the Chinese Communist Party typical propaganda. Label like Amani
right.
talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
They label you, then they talk about it every day, and if they repeat every day, it seems like that just become normal truth or something. You're supposed to accept it and keep your head down.
Yeah, and another thing that really bothered me was they change history. It's like the Chinese government, how they change history, and then how they teach the lie to kids, right? And once they took over, they were just totally.
Of course, we did not know real history about China until we come to this country. Right. We were afraid that the Chinese party is a history.
Right. Yeah. So it's like I remember my kids' school, like a grade school. They were like they were doing the classic like King Arthur, like a little school play. I mean, okay, listen, this is King Arthur, okay? You got to have some historic fact, right? They totally twisted that story to say that they shouldn't. Basically, it's like, if we just use music, we will stop the war kind of idea, okay? I mean, it's wishful thinking. However, this kind of education is not good for kids. This kind of utopia, kind
of ideology-driven kind of.
Yes, lying to kids is not good.
No, our kids cannot, truly be independent thinkers or critical thinkers at all. Oh. I know what happened in 2013 when you notice and start change. That's when under Obama, they start to push the Common Core state standards. Remember, Obama offered money for schools to teach Common Core history and all that. It then start changing education.
You probably you probably was more aware than I was at that time. I had no clue who was doing what at all. we actually, I mean, it's not like I really, voted. I didn't vote for Bush for sure. I don't remember if I voted, but I was like between Obama and McCain. Maybe I should vote for Obama because I kind of like the idea that we have a Black president. Maybe the racial tension will get eased and everybody get to start a new chapter.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, sounds
Yeah,
wonderful.
sounds really good on paper, right? So I
Yeah.
was like, "Hey, that's not a bad idea. Maybe we should give him a chance," kind of thing. Of course, I don't think I voted just because it was kind of on my birthday, I think, and I went out and come back home too late and just missed the date, and I didn't really care that much. I was that way, I was non-political, period. Okay, at that time, so I had no clue what's going on. I really had no clue.
So when you moved to North Carolina, did you continue to get a license to practice law there, or you start your own business, do something else?
I actually I kept my license in Colorado for another maybe 3 years until because I actually gave my business to my associate, and then I kind of tried to I actually wanted to get out of the law business even before I moved. So I figured, oh, that gave me a push. And then of course I couldn't. I had I had so many clients, and I was doing mainly immigration, and immigration law took a long, some cases took many years. So I had to take care of my clients, but I gradually ended. I took care of my clients, and then I think 3-4 years later, I stopped renewing my license and just let it lapse. So because I think in 2016, I bought a magazine, which is Cape Fear Living, and I became a publisher. So
That's fun. That's a new area.
it's always kind of going back to my my original love, which was literature. Because the reason actually I was studying literature because I really like it. At that time I was really not
You
thinking
like to
about
read and write and
right, yeah. So I mean, so I figure, okay, maybe I'll just do the magazine. So that then I've been doing that ever since, and that's my business now is Cape Fear Living. It's a magazine. It's a local magazine that just cover this North Carolina coastal area. It's a lot. It's fun.
That's fun. Focus on living and the pleasure
Yeah,
of life. That
focus on
sounds
the
fun.
positive side of life. I mean, we're still, I mean, hopefully we can continue this. We're enjoying good food, good weather. We're a beach town and also historic town. There's great culture. It's just a beautiful place.
Well, I
I,
hope North Carolina stay that way because it seems
I
like some things are changing now.
yeah, I hope so too. What attracted us was the Southern culture. That's partially not other than the beach, of course, the weather, that, but also Wilmington itself is a very Southern old historic town.
I heard it's beautiful. I want to
It,
visit you
it
someday.
You should, you should. I mean, I highly recommend this place. When we first came here, I, I even we bought a historic home. I totally renovated the place, and it was a 120-year-old home. And
Wow.
I enjoyed that, and I learned when I was doing that. Of course, I learned the culture, the history behind the house, and through that, you learn the Southern culture. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing here, and we still had a lot of like the statues from the Civil War. It's a huge historic, Civil War. It's a major Civil War historic site here,
Right. Right.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So this is great history here. It's very,
Mhm.
but I think over the years, I've been here for almost 10 years. Over the years, I saw what happened was very similar to the Cultural Revolution. So they
You mean
started
like recent years or just
just the past 10 years when I was here. Yes, yes,
wow?
yes,
So
absolutely.
what are the similarities do you see?
They they try to get rid of the statues, right? They try to smash the statues and saying, well, this is oppressive. It's a little bit different. Well, they just use different label. Like they say that's racist,
It's a
but
race. Everything's about race.
yeah, in China it was class, right? It's class war. I mean, here's race, but I think that's just a false front. And you know, Black Lives Matter and Antifa, a lot of those things were under the same ideology, which is Marxist. I think as people who experience that, you can tell whatever label you use, whatever front you present, it's the same thing. And I can see it's the same kind of people
Well, the
behind.
founders of Black Lives Matter organization call themselves "We are trained Marxists."
Right, they are.
On their website, they mentioned that they want to destroy nuclear families.
They do. I mean,
Very scary to see
that
that.
same it's the same people, same ideology for
But
hundreds.
they use race as a tool to divide people,
Yes.
divide Americans.
So if
And I don't know why minorities and Black people were just buying into that.
Well, it's appealing to people who feel like they're victims.
Mm-hmm.
As in China, if you're the poor, that you feel like you were oppressed, and people you got indoctrinated feeling that you are the oppressed, then there must be an oppressor, right?
That's how the Chinese farmers, the peasants, bought into communism.
Right. That's how they
and later got starving to death by him.
Right. Oh, they went there. They feel justified to kill their neighbors, to kill their rich neighbors, to kill their landlord, or whoever had it. Then they actually kill all the middle class too,
Well, no more middle class. Most people just become equally poor.
Right. I mean, we know so many tragedies. I have so many friends, their grandpa, or, they have those stories. The grandpa got killed or went to jail or, ended up very miserably. And, it happened. So you kind of start feeling, wow, this is like, it's happening here.
Do you see the young people in America today, sometimes the way they act, the way they are brainwashed, the way they use, the tactics are kind of just like rape girls?
Oh, definitely. If you can see how they were taught in school, after I became more involved in politics and start opening my eyes, and I realized what they're teaching, especially in college, is exactly the same as what they were teaching in China. It varies a little bit. However, it's from the same ideology, which is Marxist ideology. It's the goal is to destroy the Christian-based value system, to destroy family, to basically establish a totalitarian society. That's the goal. Because if you started depending on the state and thinking they are your savior, they are your God, and they are, they'll give you everything, then you will become slaves of the government for sure.
But our young people don't know that. They're just like a learning code. They're being used, and they're used for idiots.
Yeah.
They're selling them a utopian that the socialism, communism promises.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Later, I did some study, and actually, after 2016, that's actually the this eye-opening experience, because that's the first time actually I took a look at the American politics. First time in my life, okay, and my husband too. And then that's when Trump started. He started saying the number one problem in America is political correctness, and my husband said, "Okay, he got something." It's not like I was a Trump fan before, I didn't know. I mean, I heard about him,
Well, it was something fresh you heard from
I
him. It's like,
know.
oh, that's interesting, right?
But there was so much negative propaganda about Trump, and there's so much positive propaganda about Obama, right? And so in the beginning, I was like, who's, this Trump he's just a rich billionaire. He's stupid. Da, da, da. That's what I thought. Until then, I was like, okay, whatever, let's just take a look, see what they say. First time in my life, let me do my own investigation instead of listening to whatever they tell us to think, right? I mean, you used to watch CNN, ABC, whatever, and I was like, okay, let me just listen to some speech. So I started listening to Obama's speech. I started listening to Trump, okay? And then I realized, wow, Obama had this communist trend. Actually, I didn't realize it. Who's this guy?
You did not build that. I remember that very clearly. Like everything you own,
I actually never really listened to a whole speech. It was just always a little like 15 seconds from the TV. You have a glimpse. Oh yeah, Obama's great. Okay, that's what you heard, right? And then you would hear like 15 seconds of Trump. Oh, Trump is stupid, right? That's what you heard.
That's what the mainstream media wants you to believe, right?
I know, right? And you just listen stupidly. I mean, I used to listen to NPR, believe it or not. I was like, oh yeah, whatever.
We all did. We drive the car, go to work every morning. This is NPR.
Okay, yeah. But then it started listening. Then I listened. Trump came to town, and I actually didn't get a ticket, but I watched him on TV. I was like, he is definitely not as stupid as what the media said. Okay, he's way smarter than they're saying. And whatever he said, okay, it's I mean, you can say it's controversial, whatever, okay. It's like he didn't cause the problem. He already had a problem. He's just the little kid who is saying the emperor was not wearing clothes, okay. You got offended because the emperor didn't wear the clothes, but then you accuse the kid who is pointing that out.
So that was your wake up call year, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he
So
just
tell us, audience, like now once you wake up and like what are you doing now besides your business, your family? Like, are you involved in locally or?
Yeah, then I became a Trump supporter. It's so funny. I remember clearly at that time, my younger one was still in middle school. And she was in this charter school. I didn't realize it. I sent to her there. I was like, oh yeah, this is like charter school. It's supposed to be rated pretty high. And I didn't realize that was the most like leftist school in our town. I didn't know that, you know. And so the entire school was against Trump. Okay. I was like, how could that be?
But school not supposed to be involved with politics, right?
I know, right?
The parents don't know about that.
So my younger one was loyal to her parents. She was fifth grader, fifth or
Mhm.
sixth, I forgot. But she was like, which grade she was? Maybe 7. I don't remember. Maybe middle school age anyway. She came home school, right? She came home from school, and she was like, that's the election day, and she said, I'm not going. If Trump loses, I'm not going to school anymore tomorrow because all my friends are going to laugh at me.
Oh,
Poor
no.
kid. Oh, we felt
You
so
feel
bad.
the pressure, peer pressure.
Peer pressure from. She was like, oh, she was crying, and we felt so bad for her. But so next day we know Trump won, so we said, hey, Bonnie, go ahead, go to school.
How old was she that time?
She 2000. She was 13. She was 13.
Wow, teenager. As peer pressure is very big that
Yeah.
time. Such a wonderful story. Because we're running out of time, I do have to ask you come back. We
Yeah.
will start with then after all this, and I heard you got some great ideas, some fantastic project you're working on, and you are involved with some other like a Chinese Americans in this country, but who are totally awake.
Right.
And we become friends last year because we follow each other on Facebook and then we talk on the phone many times, Zoom call and all that. And we feel like, wow, this is a good trend. And more immigrants and more Chinese immigrants are waking up to say, how come this country is changing? Not the same country I came here for. So they're getting activated. And they see their kids getting indoctrinated or discriminated when they go to universities and all this identity politics is just so remind us what happened to us before. So tell people that how they can find you, follow you, and contact you if they have questions.
Yeah, just follow our capefearliving.com.
Mhm.
Capefearliving.com. It's Cape Fear is the river that passed through Wilmington, so that's why. So that's my magazine, and if you just try to get hold of me, you can email me at leping@capefearliving.com. That's my email address.
Mhm.
We have Cape Fear Living has Instagram and Facebook. And you can also join our email newsletter. So that's my major platform. And also from the Chinese side, since I am immigrant and I feel like I'm still very connected to a lot of Chinese communities through my law practice. So I have many great Chinese friends. So I was thinking about starting a coalition because there are many Chinese immigrants organizations, but I feel like majority of them were leaning towards the left on the Democrat side. They're a little bit more active. That's one thing. Another thing is a lot of organizations were kind of had here and there connection with the Chinese Communist Party, and that is I just don't think that's they don't represent us properly. They really don't represent Chinese immigrants properly.
Mhm.
I know there are hundreds of thousands of Chinese immigrants, and they're patriots. They love America. Their loyalty is to America, and we don't want to give all those exposure to the CCPs and then the other leftist leaning organizations. So that's why I started Chinese Americans Patriots Coalition, and hopefully, I mean, it's just the beginning. Hopefully, more and more people can join us. voice our opinions and not be afraid that, your love and your loyalty to America, it's a great thing. We are Americans, we're immigrants, but we love our home country. We still do. However, this is our country. This is our home. This is our kids' future.
You cannot say better than, because that's what I'm trying to do. We live in this country, we're blessed in this country, feel, that we're living American dream. But how about our kids? How about their kids? What kind of country we're living? This is our duty, our mission.
Yes.
I'm so glad. I really cheer for you and wish you the best luck to start this coronation. And lots of Chinese Americans, they are not even political, like you said. You're just busy and doing family, doing business. But now it is really time to get involved, because if you're not getting involved in politics, and they will involve you, and they're going to affect your life, and they might change the country, destroy the country you love, then your kids are going to live in another socialist and communist country. That would be our nightmare, right?
Right.
And we cannot even leave this world peacefully if that happens. And so we share the same mission. And thank you so much, Leping, to come join me. And you have to come back, and we have so much to talk about. And once you have more like a progress with your coronation, and come back and to tell us about it, and to ask more people to join you.
Oh, definitely. Thank you so much, Lily.
Well, thank you, and you have a great day. We'll be in touch.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Bye. If you like this story, please share, and please tell other people and to share it. If you are immigrant, want to tell your stories, and let me know. We would love to hear from you. And have a great night, and God bless America. Bye. Bye, Leping.
Bye.